critical thing for rural women is to make sure that they're looking after themselves. As the expression, to make sure you've put on your own oxygen mask before you help other people. Being agile, not fragile, really means that you've got that, I guess, a suppleness and an ability to sway in the wind and not be blown over. I think it's important that we actually learn skills and techniques for managing the feelings that can sometimes be quite overwhelming, particularly when you're going through change and crisis.
In crisis there is opportunity. I mean, the classic example of that, I think there was more millionaires made in the Great Depression than any other period in history. Having something to strive towards and having that sense that you're moving forward with your life is very, very important for your well-being.
This webinar series is an opportunity to get some new tools, but also to look at, are you maintaining the tools you've already got? How do you be in a position where you can take advantage of what the opportunities are coming out of a crisis?
Not only giving people great information about well-being, but also giving them some great information about how to improve themselves professionally. People have shown remarkable agility to deal with extraordinary demands, but it's also important that while people are doing that and running on full revs, that they are looking after themselves at the same time so they can maintain that resilience over time.
I think one of the important things about this webinar series is that the people involved understand rural Queensland, they understand rural people. You can have privacy, you don't need to identify yourself when you're asking a question. There's lots of opportunities, but you need to look after yourself so that you can actually take advantage of those opportunities and be in a position to look after the people around you and make sure they're ready for them too.
Pride myself on being able to talk like an auctioneer for 40 minutes straight. So strap yourselves in. No, I'm only joking. But I really do want to present to you about 4 days worth of content in 40 minutes. So can everyone, no, I think we've just showed you the wrong screen. Sorry, now I'm really going to clunk along here. Stop the share and share the right screen. Now we're sharing the right screen. Can everyone see the right screen?
Yep.
Yeah, awesome, awesome. So I don't know, we loosely term this having your cake and eating it too, because that's a little bit what it's about. I do definitely welcome some comments and questions along the way. Potentially the chat box is the best place for them, because if I'm going to cover them, I might actually leave it and put it in a bit of context later. I do have a lot of content to go through, but I'm also not married to I'm married to the finish time, because that's a commitment you've made. But if anyone wants to have a chat after, I don't mind a chat either. So just by definition, what is time management? Really, it's meeting and managing your competing commitments. That part isn't actually rocket science. But what we do need to do is make sure we're doing this in an efficient form. I'm going to talk a lot about efficiency, because efficiency is really our opportunity to get ahead in this space. The other thing, and I know that this has been the theory and the theme throughout the whole of this webinar series, it's really about achieving that balance of your mental and physical health. Because at the end of the day, if we end up that, yeah, absolutely, we've ticked all the right boxes, but we have nothing left in the cup, and I'm going to talk a little bit about cup filling throughout the course of the next half an hour or so. If we have nothing left in the cup, what's it all for? If you're looking for some take-home messages, the reality is this is one of them. If people say to me, I'm not a great time manager, there's a couple of things I say. Firstly is drop the label. So what does that mean? Stop saying you're a bad time manager and start doing your darndest to do a better job of it. The other thing is, I suggest at this point, is there's actually no such thing as good time management. Good time management relies on good management of ourselves. because it's not rocket science to me that there's 168 hours in every week. Did anyone know the significance of that number? Crazy, huh? We talk about 24/7, we talk about 365, we use a lot of numbers, but in reality, our life usually rolls in weeks, and we have 168 hours available to us each week. The reason I asked in the beginning, if you had another 2 hours available to you at the beginning of the session, I asked if you had 2 hours available to you, where would you use them? The reason I asked that is because I challenge you out of 168 hours why you can't find that time next week. And I'm going to talk about how we could potentially do that. What I do want to do is take one step back. And I usually, it's funny when we talk about time management, if I engage as a consultant or, you know, in a coaching environment, people will say to me, I'll start a conversation around making sure we understand our core values and making sure that we understand our goals and also understand who's in our network. And they're like, no, I don't want to know about that stuff. I just want to know how to manage time. But in reality, and I'm excited that a lot of this stuff has been covered previously, in reality, before we can manage our time or manage the allocation of our resources, which is what we can do, not manage time, manage the allocation of where we're going to put our energy and our resources, we need to have an understanding of where we're trying to go and what we're trying to achieve. So for me, that is about our values and some goals. So anyone who's done any work with me in the past, whether it's through our coaching programs or through training, knows that I put that stuff front and center. The reason we do this is because when we start having a look at where we're spending our time, in reality, if our values and our goals aren't front and center, we need to ask ourselves some serious questions. The other thing is, if we think about our vision and legacy of our life and our business as our destination, and we can pop our goals up there, we can use our values as almost a guide rail. And then, so we're on a bus. We're going to head down this road towards this destination with these guide rails. The people in our network, and I'm not going to spend a lot of time, I know Julia Telford touched on this stuff, and she's second to none by way of connection as a presenter. The passengers on that bus are our network. And so we need to make sure we are surrounded by people who are on the same journey with us, or go about collecting passengers on the way who can support you. I would love to talk about that stuff for an hour, but we don't have that privilege tonight. So what I'm going to talk about is what you've actually asked me here to do. And that is about managing our time. So in reality, there are 3 ways we can spend our time. The first way is being productive. So that is doing something that is in line with our goals and our values. If our goals and our values resonate strongly enough with us, we don't mind putting time in that space of productivity. I just want to define what that does mean. Say, for example, one of your core values is your family, and you find yourself spending hours a week in a car between sporting events, tutoring, music, school bus runs. People are in all different stages of their life. It might, but this is an example for this stuff. If one of your core values is family and your goal is to make sure you raise well-rounded children, any amount of time you spend in a vehicle getting to that destination is actually productive time. So sometimes they're the crap bits of the productive journey. Does that make sense? Can I get a little nod or smile there? It's a bit like, you know, my wasted time is doing domestics. But if having a healthy environment for your family is part of a broader goal, well, actually your domestics is part of being productive. Does that sort of make sense? Without having spent a few hours talking about and getting a handle on some of that earlier stuff, that can sort of come out of the blue a little bit. And I'm going to skip to the second and come back in a moment. There's another way we can spend our time, and that's through genuine wastage. So that is not necessarily the driving. It's not necessarily that time. If you sat down with a hot cup of tea, it might be after you've been for a walk in the morning, and you may well consider that wasted time. But at the end of the day, if you sit down and you absolutely love doing that and it makes you feel good, it's not wasted. I'm talking, I would say a lot of people, I'm nearly 40, a lot of people in my age group, this is what constitutes wasted time. And I know for me, if I map my time, this is where it's wasted. Also, when you find yourself It might be spending time in a relationship, spending time sitting on the corner of the couch where you've watched something that you did not love and you go, I'm never going to get that time back. That for me is wasted time. That is where we have a real opportunity. You know, we talk about I'd love to find the time. If we talked about mapping our time and managing, measuring to manage, that would be a big part of what came out of it, because we can find time by minimising our wastage. The other thing we need to do is understand that doing things that maintain our mental and physical well-being and our sense of fulfilment, achievement and enjoyment is actually smart and not selfish. So what happens is, if we find ourselves being more efficient, we have a plan, we stick to the plan, that's the next part of the session, we can actually allocate time to do the things we love, which I consider to be a cup-filling exercise. So like Georgie said at the beginning of the video about putting your oxygen mask on first in a plane, I love the analogy that you can't pour from an empty cup. And I'm pretty confident majority of the people dialed in here are looking after someone other than themselves. And I'm going to say that most people, and a lot of the women that I work with, and even a lot of blokes, they are actually compromising their own well-being, their own mental and physical health, and their own sense of fulfillment and achievement for someone else that they love. Okay, so what I'm encouraging you to do here is don't cut out the things you love. Be smart enough to prioritize that. But what we're going to do is increase the efficiency of our productivity, which is where I'm headed now, and minimize the wastage. Along the way, though, team, we cannot manage what we haven't measured. So I encourage you to go about having a think about where you're spending your time. Don't assume where you spend your time. Don't assume you spend 4 hours a week in the car and, 2 hours a week exercising and 6 hours on your phone, when in reality, you probably spend 6 hours a day on your phone. Have a look at the stats. So if you would like to save some money, you create a budget. If you would like to have a better physical health, you might count some steps, you might count some carbs. Similarly, if you would like to manage your time better, remember I said it's about managing ourselves. We can't manage ourselves without measuring where we're putting that time. Does that make sense? I'm really touching on lots of little bits and bobs here. If some of the stuff resonates with you, I'm happy to have a further deeper discussion. But I wanted to give you all my little gems in a really short period of time. Smart, not sure, quite sure. So this is the image that I was trying to create with my arms 5 minutes ago. This is putting our vision and our mission and the legacy we would like to leave for ourselves and our businesses at the top. And this is deciding what the boundaries and guide rails we're going to set so we can utilize the 168 hours a week effectively. Okay. The other thing we're going to do is make sure that this cup filling, barrage is firmly accounted for. When I asked if there are 2 hours a week, I'm going to challenge if you spend 40 or 50 hours sleeping, 40 or 50 hours working, you've got about 70, 80, 90 hours left, team. How the hell are we not finding, when you're listing something that's really important to you, and I've given you 2 out of 168 hours. I didn't say if there was another 100 hours in the week. My challenge to everyone who's dialed in is to find that 2 hours next week. And I promise you, if you minimize the wastage and follow some of our tips for improving efficiency, I reckon you could do it. Is that a fair sort of comment? I'm just going to quickly, I'm really bad at multitasking here, team. I get wound up and then I enjoy my wasted time. So Cassandra, if you're enjoying it, it's not wasted, it's cup filling. I'm talking about wasted time as the time, not that you, it's the time you think, geez, I'm not getting that hour back. So if it's something you enjoy, prioritize it. It's not wasted. It's actually smart. Yeah, awesome. Stacey Story makes, yep, go Tracy Anderson. We're going to find that 2 hours. Good job. I love it. So look, the other thing I wanted to make note of is we are rarely on one of these paths at once. So the challenge we have is we have 168 bricks to lay across about 10 paths. We're trying to be a community person. We're trying to be a business person. We're trying to look after our own health. We're trying to run a business. We're trying to be a parent, whatever. You with me? And sometimes I liken it to a plate spinning act. There's some times where I might have done a bit of a sprint to get a project done. It might be that you've been preparing for an art exhibition or, contributing to a magazine, or you might have been training for a marathon. Clearly not me. And then you get to the end and you go, wow, a lot of other areas of my life have suffered. So be conscious to periodically look up, lift your eyes up long enough to keep your eye on the end game of each project and give the plate a spin as it needs it. Does that make sense? And sometimes we do need to put all of our resources into one particular area. We would use that example, especially say we had a sick child. The rest of the world wouldn't matter. Every single ounce of our 168 hours would be invested there without question. Okay? Similarly, you might be trying to pull off a business deal and you will put all of your energy there. You might apologize to someone, hey, I'll be back. I just need to focus here for a bit, team. Okay? So I do realize it's actually not that simple, and we have these concurrent priorities that are competing against us and competing for our bricks. Do you like the idea of this bricklaying business? I like it. I think it really fitted for me. Google a circle of influence, circle of control. Be really conscious, deliberating and worrying about the things that we can't control, but we can control a lot of it. We can control our own level of discipline, the way where we put our resources. I'm not going to use the word motivation. I hate it. I think we wait to be motivated and we lose opportunity. We need to have a plan and we need to be disciplined. Okay. People say to me, I don't know how you do it. What do you mean? I don't wake up and go, do I really want to do my job today? You know, it's a bit like you think of an Olympic swimmer. They don't get a lot of in between the Olympic stuff. Those poor buggers trained for 4 years. They have a lot of credibility. Do you reckon they wake up every morning and say, I can't wait to hit the pool at 4 o'clock? No, they don't. They have a steely discipline, not a motivation. Forget the concept of motivation, team. We're looking for discipline. Discipline creates momentum, which then will make us motivated. But what keeps us motivated is the eye on the prize. We're getting to where we need to be. Okay. And look, if you're, obviously peak of my life, got little fellas. It's a wonder we haven't heard the toilet call. They've probably been threatened with certain death at my house tonight. But you might be that at a different stage of your life where you're winding down and you might be looking to make a contribution to the community. And so one of your visions and goals might be in there. You might be looking to give back to something. You might be looking to travel. What is it? And look, we did a lot of work in really difficult situations in regional Australia during the drought. And I'm going to honestly say this whole goal sort of business, some of it was, hey, read a book a month. It doesn't have to be expensive. It doesn't even have to be unachievable. Don't set yourself up for failure. We are absolutely fatigued with crisis. We don't want any more unprecedented times, do we? We had bushfire, we've had drought, we've had flood. You know, the team here, you know it all too well, and now in the guts of COVID. So really keep this so real. We're looking for a sense of fulfilment and achievement here. How are we going? Some great comments. I'm conscious, I really want to be reading them and talking to you. Good advice, happy with what's real for you. Yeah, absolutely. I have a beautiful friend who lives smack bang, listen to this team, between Boland, Hebel and Dirranbandi. Imagine it. About 6 years of drought, back to back, the whole world would get 4 inches, she'd get 20 points. And she was doing a program that we're running, and I said to her, she said, I just feel like I'm not being very ambitious. 2 little kids under 2. Said, babe, I've got a goal for you. Survival. Get yourself out of your pajamas 3 days a week. Keep it real. We have to stop being so hard and so unkind to ourselves. Okay? And she was like, I think she said, I think you should be writing a book about your challenges. No, make sure your kids had some baked beans. Forget their teeth. Put them in bed. Okay? Keep it real. How are we traveling? I'm going to skip along here. So at the end of the day, we need to, get dressed 3 days a week. 100 days in my slippers. I love it. Anyway, I do get dressed. Righto, on track, Rebecca. Keep focused. What we do need to do is, and I want to now stop on the fluffy stuff. We're all doing a cracking job, but we can all do a better job. Okay, so I want to spend the next, how long have I got, Trace? Give me a bit longer than I probably bargained for. If not, I'll just talk.
Keep going for about another 10, 15 minutes.
Okay, geez. Yeah. Righto. So what we need to do is the only thing we can do now, avoid the wastage, fill our cup and improve our efficiency. So what we need to do is make sure that out of our roadmap, we have a plan. So we talked about our roadmap. We need now the strategy. How do we do this? It's actually pretty simple. We're going to keep breaking it down till we can't break it down no further. We are going to basically plan our year. We're going to plan our month. We're going to plan our week, and we're going to plan our day. I'm not going to spend a lot of time on our year. I'll quickly say at this point that understand what worked and what didn't. Forget the concept of New Year's resolutions, because typically they don't resonate with you. They resonate with society. Getting skinnier, spending less, drinking less, all those things. Really, will you feel great at the end of the year if you do them, or you feel like you missed out? Have a think about some goals that really resonate in line with your values and stick to them. Then after we get to that point, we're going to start managing our month. So how do you manage your month? It's about taking time at the beginning of the month to down tools and have a look at what projects need some attention. I'm also going to talk in a minute about a list. So I actually start at my monthly level with a master list. So what does that mean? It's my dumping ground, because when I talk about writing a daily list, I'm going to talk about making sure it's achievable and making sure at the end of each day it's done. So your master list has got to be that space where you dump stuff. And look, are these categories right? No, they're probably not even right for me. And sometimes they even change month to month, depending on the project that I'm working on. The other thing is it makes sure that each part of my life gets a little bit of attention, a little splash of attention along the way. The other thing I do at a monthly level is make sure if I need any resources. I know regionally based, I'm pretty confident Australia Post has corona, pretty slow. We actually need to make sure that we are thinking ahead, so we don't get to a project and can't get it done because we don't have the resources, don't have the contractor ordered, whatever we needed. Once we have got our month planned, we're going to use a month, funnily enough, to populate a weekly plan. And I use a template like this. I'm going to talk about these templates in a minute because we're working really hard to make them available to everyone, which is really exciting. I guess my top tips for managing your week is making sure that you're taking some control over it. Even if you don't have a schedule, create a schedule. And that's where I think a lot of efficient country people, I might have a town day or an office day. Really, the more structure you can put into your time, the better. The other quick thing here is plan your week on a Friday afternoon. There's some reasons there. Usually it's an unproductive time, heads towards G&T time after 3. Also, last minute opportunity to make appointments. So rather than getting to Sunday night and going, oh, I really wanted to get into a doctor and accountant next week, and you can't finish scheduling your week because you haven't got that appointment locked in. The other thing is, a lot of us, if we're in a position where we're self-employed and the week ahead is unachievable, we've got 48 hours to do something about it. It might be to allocate some tasks. It might be to dig deep over the weekend. I'm not one to encourage necessarily working over the weekend, but if it's going to make the week after more achievable, I think it can be a really clever tool. The other thing is you can park it and go into the weekend. And I know anyone who's dialing in from a farming business, every day is a Wednesday. But as we talk about professionalising our farming businesses and also managing our physical and mental health and relationships, maybe we do need to acknowledge the weekend, have a little bit of downtime. Funny that. And then we go into the weekend with a clear mind and start Monday on a fresh foot. So I love that tip about planning on a Friday arvo. Then when I talk about efficiencies, creating efficiencies in our day is the most valuable thing we can do to find time. And the only other thing we can do is we can't make it. We can find it through efficiencies and through minimising wastage. The only other thing we can do is actually buy it, which buying time is through delegation and allowing someone else, usually at a cost. It could be an old-fashioned barter system, but at a cost, or using their time. So that's no different to someone who comes and gives me a hand in the office. It might be someone who has a skill set you don't have. Graphic design is definitely not my strong point. I use a graphic designer. I buy their time. So delegation is the very genuine opportunity for us to buy someone's time. But funnily enough, a to-do list is the most critical part of improving efficiency in managing your day. That's probably not going to come as a surprise. What might come as a surprise is the fact that usually we overcommit because we have nowhere else to put our information, and we want to get rid of the white noise in our head so we're not going, can't remember, can't forget. So we put it on a never-ending to-do list. I challenge that a lot of, and I'm happy to take criticism otherwise, but I challenge that a lot of women in the who are dialed in would write a rough, scrappy to-do list. Correct me if I'm wrong. Put a little thumbs up in the chat box if this is you. Rough, scrappy to-do list. It's usually about 3 months worth of work. You're going to try and get it done today. Unlikely, you're at everyone else's beck and call. You get to the end of the day, you might have highlighted a few things. You might have actually put a few things on it right at the end so you could cross them off just so you felt a bit better. And then what you do is you look at the list and went, yeah, right. So I didn't quite get that done. Anyone do that? Yep. Okay, a couple of things. Your list is crap for a start. Start with a master list and only do things that you're going to do today. Chunk them down. Don't put clean the toy room. Don't put office work. Put pay wages. We want to get to the end of the day and have a sense of fulfillment and achievement. Who does this? I don't know if you do, Rob. I don't know a lot of blokes that do. They get to the end of the day and they write in a diary. Guess what they've just focused on? What they have achieved. Do they focus on what they didn't do? No. And they leave the end of the day with this sense of fulfillment and achievement of what a great job they've done. The other thing they do is they file them for years. They sit up like little luxury items, don't they? Is anyone nodding here? Yeah. Hey, women online, be more like a bloke. Okay? You get more of what you focus on. It's funny because it's true, Tracy. So what we have to do, and I'm going to show you, this is today for me. I feel great. I did actually have to dig a bit deep this half, but everything that was on that list, some of those were 2-minute jobs. They're not on, if I wasn't going to do them, guess what? I wrote them on tomorrow's list. And you know what? I've even started Thursday's list. Okay? I'm starting to think like a bloke. Sorry if I've offended any of the blokes that dialed in. Am I allowed to do that, Trace? That's okay. Yeah. I haven't sworn yet, team. That's a big deal. Okay. I think I started before about doing crap bits in your job. I usually don't say crap, but I've been really good tonight. Anyway, so then I don't have a chance now, and it's my favourite topic to talk about categorising your list, deep and shallow work tasks, understanding when we strike our best, which is why I get up at 4 o'clock in the morning, every morning of my life, and I have a whole half a day's work done before my family get out of bed, and then why tonight, usually pretty marginal. And if I tried to edit a document, it would be crap. Because I know exactly when I'm at my cognitive best, and I use that time productively. You know what it's done? Absolutely doubled what I can achieve in any given day, week, and month. And from a productivity and profitability perspective, it's actually progressed that too. So what I can get done in any period of time, because I map my activity with my energy levels, and I can talk about that sort of thing till I'm blue in the face. I love, Lisa Duncan, let's hang out. I absolutely, if I've missed that morning, but come the afternoon, I'm pretty ordinary. I'm also really protective. If you want to book an appointment with me, you're not getting from 8 till 12. No way, in God's name. Because I know after lunch I can find the energy to hang out, but I can't necessarily find the energy to write or, do a proposal, whatever I have to do. And yes, Trello and Asana are project management tools that are so incredibly clever. But whatever you have to do, I'm a massive fan. I'll just quickly show you. Hopefully I've left that stuff up there long enough for people to look at it, because I got more of it too, and lots of it. I love it. It's basically all of this stuff here is about improving efficiency. So remember, we get rid of our wastage, we prioritise our mental health and physical health, and our time is spent productively and in line with the things that we're looking to achieve. Where the real win is through improved efficiency, okay? And we get more of what we focus on. So one of the other take-homes at this point is to be really careful of how we talk to ourselves. Like, I'm disorganised. Do you like being disorganised? Well, practice not being disorganised, because what it does is the way we label and speak to ourselves is our opportunity to live up to that behaviour. Is anyone who's dialed in always the late one in your group? Always the one that's late? Anyone want to put a little thumbs up there? Who's known to be the late one? Yep. Hey, Beej, I reckon you use it as an excuse too. I reckon because people know that you're the late one, they're like, yeah, Sue's down, she'll still be half an hour. And in your back of your mind, you're going, yeah, they know I'm going to be late. Why would I leave yet? If you like being the late one, knock yourself out. Keep being the late one. If you do not like being the late one, I dare you to stop being the late one. Guess what will happen? First time, they'll probably take the mickey out of you. Did you go to bed? How come you're on time? They'll eventually forget, okay? It's a really, really good point. But you know they're always early. Rob, I did joke and I said, whoever died in 15 minutes, go and find something to do for 15 minutes. This show started at 7:30. I am never early. Any mug can be late. I am never late. I ain't early either. That's 15 minutes. I know the value of a very short period of time. I'm going to tell one more story, Tracy. I know I've got to shut up here for a minute. But who back in the day, I don't know when the day was for some people, I'm going to say pre-children for me. And you know, you're like, oh, it's 8:30. I've got that meeting at 10. No point starting anything now. Remember those days? And now it's like, oh, webinar, 7:30. Got 16 minutes. Load of washing. We need to understand the value of a really short period of time. And if you time yourself, which is back to that concept of managing, having to be able to manage before you measure before you can manage. Geez, there's a lot of 2-minute jobs in our life, team. And you know what? They're probably things that sit on your to-do list. Right, where are we going here? So I use a daily planner as well. So what we do is just by way of a wrap, and that was the craziest, quickest time I've ever put some of that content in, and I've ripped some of it off. So I apologize. But before we can know where we spend our time, we really, really need to know why we're doing it. Okay? So ask why. We can't manage the time. We can only manage ourselves, where we put our energy, our resources, and our efforts. Planning really is the key. Once we have a plan, which is an annual sort of strategy, a monthly plan, maybe with a master list, a weekly plan, into a daily action plan, don't worry about being motivated, team. Stick to the plan. Just do the thing. What is it that's on your list that at the end of the day, whether it's getting up with a couple of us here in the team that, hit the deck early, or you might be late. So I might sound like a hero saying I'm getting up at 4. I'm also in bed early. So we can categorize. There's a really cool tool about categorizing when you operate at your peak and using that time. I'd be a really inefficient person if I wasted my mornings and then expected myself to work halfway through the night. There's a really good little Prue Barwick's just said your 5 and 10 minute jobs, and then you get a 5 and 10. Yep. Other thing is, if there's something takes less than 2 minutes, do it immediately. Don't ever deliberate on it. There's some really good stuff. I've improved because I wanted to stop being like, oh, good job. Sometimes it requires us to acknowledge it. Look, that conversation around your language and making sure that we're not, it's not about how we feel. It's about what we do. So, there's a lot of times when I don't feel like doing what I'm required to do, but I've got a plan. I stick to the plan. What's a quick way to map your time usage? Jill, let me send a link to a time mapping exercise, which is is it quick? No, it's probably really clunky, but what it will do is really scare the living hell out of you about where you really do spend your time, so it's worth it. There are, can you, Trace, remind me to send, there's an app as well, let me find it. I might send Trace a little bit of information on that, because it really is really critical to get a handle on where you spend it before you can start managing it. Team, I have not necessarily done this content justice because I wanted to give you the full 3 days in the 45 minutes. But we do, as Tracy said, I've done a 30 top tips. They'll be on email tomorrow. They're downloadable that I think Trace has put the link up in there. And the other thing we're doing, working on it now as a project is, as I said, we've put together this resource, which is effectively a monthly planner, weekly planner, and your daily planners. It'll be a PDF you could print. Look, Rob, you could probably ditch the front cover if you liked, but you don't have to. And the other thing that'll come with it, which is really cool, and it's what we're also curating, is some instructions and notes. So really a summary of some of the stuff we've talked about today. There's a couple of people in our team that really love this stuff, but love it, guys, because they know that it makes a difference. And this isn't about, well, for me, it's about making sure I've created a balance and I can do the things that I want to do. But also, I like to run a business that's profitable, and it's not about the harder we work. Sometimes it's about the smarter we work, the more successful we can be. And again, successful in the different elements of your life that are important to you. Is it around being able to be a successful parent, partner, community person, athlete, maybe for some, or a professional. But we do plan this space quite a lot. We love it. We are going to release that planner. We've done the top tips that Trace has put up, and we have a couple of we've got an online program. Actually, one of the team have done, a couple of the people online have done either our personal effectiveness boot camp or our remote work blitz, which is that's always live and evergreen. But if any of it floated your boat, we're really happy to have a chat. We're actually looking to launch a program especially for women, actually, around spring cleaning your life. So we think it could be a bit of a goer. I'm going to go now as I sign off and send back to you, Tracy. There's 7 new messages. Hello, Sarah Cox. Trello is incredible. Trello, I've got clients who use Trello for work health and safety and HR too. Yeah, Trello's amazing. Monday is another good one. Asana's a good one. Totally agree with the early mornings. Where else are we going here? Yeah. Hey, what about, Sarah, the fact that it comes up Sunday morning, so you sort of just laying around doing nothing? It's like you have spent an average of 7 hours a day on your phone, and you're like, oh. So yeah, really, really scary. You know, isn't that incredible that Apple have created a tool that's so addictive? They've given you a scare tactic to get you off it. Crazy. I'm going to stop my screen sharing as per instruction by the boss, and I'm happy to have a chat, to take some questions, have a conversation, and yeah, apologise for the rate at which we rattled through that.
Thanks so much, Beck. It was just fantastic. You hit on some sore points at my end, and have really inspired me. I just wanted to open up to see if anyone had any questions. If you just want to take your turn off mute, if you wanted to ask any questions. Fire away.
If I can just go back to Cherie's question there, I was just thinking today I need an app to map where I spend my time rather than where she's planning to spend her time. So do you recommend one of those, Beck?
Yeah, no, that's what I said, Suze. There's 2. So Laura Vanderkamp is an American time management expert, and she has a link that I'm going to get to Tracy. And the other thing is, I think it's like Time Check or something, and you can put in projects and categories that you can actually do it on your phone. So I want to, actually, some of the girls that are have been in one of our programs, we can have a giggle that one of these spreadsheets, and one of the accountants in the group color coded it so it had this formula to add up what time she spent doing what. Crazy. Any suggestions for values and goals identification? There's some, you know what, without being generalist, Shannon, there's some good tools really on Google. So look at mapping your values is probably the question. And then goals identification. Oh, I love Chris O'Jamison might come on and validate this. The concept of reverse engineering we talk about in our programs, and it is an absolute game changer. One thing with goal identification is what I do is make sure that the goals that you choose really resonate with you, because you need to make sure that you're willing to make the sacrifices and apply the discipline to get the job done. So what do I mean by that? If you're trying to save for a house deposit but it doesn't actually, it really doesn't matter that much. Are you really going to save the money? That's reverse engineering is fantastic. Really clever tactic to take a big goal, if you're big picture focused, and really break it down that you can get it down to the point where you have a daily, a weekly and a monthly strategy out of it. Yeah, lots of information, maybe a bit much. So reverse engineering that concept, I really love that. And it's really helped us take a concept and break it down, even back to even with project managing. But yeah, definitely, Cherie, that time mapping can be really, is so valuable. Yeah, make it the year of the garden. That's gold. That's the theme. What else? Crazy. We've got 3. How many people have we got on, Trace?
52.
How good's that?
Pretty good.
Yeah, achievable goals is the other thing. That is so incredibly true, Rob. People would have come across the concept of SMART goals. So you might, if you've ever applied for some funding or might have, validated a project. So that's goals that are specific, they're measurable, they're achievable, they're realistic and relevant, and they're time bound. So if you think of all those parameters, if you've set yourself a goal and you can't tick those boxes, so that's another thing to Google when you're looking about validating your goals. If they're not SMART, they're usually unachievable is where it's at. So if you can't categorically suggest that your goal is SMART, S-M-A-R-T, put a line through it or adjust it accordingly. Is it really measurable? So improved health at the end of the year, what do you say? Like, no, well, my hair's healthier. Like my elastic waisted pants are a bit tighter, but my hair's like, what's improved health? Is it something? We need an indicator of success so we can get that sense of fulfillment and achievement rather. We spend a lot of time in life and business setting ourselves up for failure, team. That's about where it's at. We really do. And yeah, the eat the frog. So Kristen's just put there, she found eating the frog useful. That's a really cool TED talk. Interesting when I say TED talk, I say TED talk rather than a book because the TED talk's 3 minutes and the book is these are 3 minutes in the book, like the good bits in the TED talk. Really, it's the concept of if you, first thing in the morning or whenever you start your day, if you take the ugliest, mankiest thing off your list, nothing else will taste as bad. The other thing is usually the frog, it might be a difficult conversation. It might be a project that you really don't want to attack. It's never usually as bad as you think. And that sense of momentum that comes from doing the worst job on your list. And also, especially if you're a morning person, if you get to the end of the day and you've had a reasonable day, but you haven't eaten the frog or done the thing, what is that task that needed to be done, but you just sort of gives you a bit of a gut churn? So get up and do the ugliest job on your list first thing in the morning, team. There you go. Good job. Good comment. Righto. How we all, what else? A lot of lovely familiar names and faces on here. Yeah, look, it's very much a starting point. I could talk for a week about this. And you know what? It's all tried and true stuff. Like I said, right at the beginning, a lot of this stuff isn't mine. It's curated from someone else. And, there's women who've dialed in here that have contributed to the story that I tell. I always give credit where it's due. But what a lot of the things that we've learned along the way, they really have helped us strike that balance and improve our productivity. And improving your productivity can be about having more time to yourself. It can be, if we go right back to the beginning when I asked where the 2 hours was, if you can improve your efficiency slightly, or like Sarah said, have a look at how much time you're spending on your phone. I might be talking about that a lot because I can tell you I'm clinically addicted to the thing. And then I can't find the 2 hours to exercise. Do you want to talk about it? So I can find 2 hours to scroll my phone looking at wedding photos of someone I don't actually know. But I can't go for a walk.
Okay.
Like, really? Can you talk about networks? I reckon I love talking about networks. I love talking about deadwood, people who are in your network that don't need to be there. And I love talking about the gaps where, if you don't have someone to help you get there. But there was a really amazing, I'm sure I didn't watch it, but it would have been amazing with Julia Telford talking about networks. Is that fair, Trace? It would have been a cracker.
It was great.
Yeah.
It was absolutely fantastic.
Yeah. So Christine, there's there is a previous webinar to watch. But if you have any specific questions about networks, make sure one of my comments around networks is give your energy and time to the people that help you on your way. So, and when I say time and energy, time's one thing, energy's another thing. I find, I'm going to speak for myself, I get to the end of the day and yeah, absolutely, I feel guilty and give time to the people I love the most, but did they get my best energy? So be really careful. There's networks that we give time to, have a think about who we're giving our energy to. And if there's any suckers in your life that are sucking your energy and you go, wow, that did not make me feel good, stop giving them your energy. Don't give them any more time, but also identify the gaps. So if you're looking to be, I keep talking about fitness team like I'm some sort of fitness freak. I'm not. Maybe I've got a bit of a subconscious here. But if I don't have a lot of friends that do fitness well. I need to extend that part of my network. But it would be remiss of me to look to achieve a goal without getting a network in that space. Get a trainer, get a buddy who wants to walk with me. Look, there's probably more than nothing else. I laughed. Oh, good job. You know, it's all about the entertainment. And the other thing with the networks is the value of a good mentor. I love a good mentor, but people who are in your team and people who hold you accountable. If you are self-employed or have a high level of autonomy in your life, chances are no one's really holding you accountable. So if you don't really get to where you need to be, who really cares? And don't say your bank manager, because he doesn't care if you haven't got any change left. He doesn't care if you burn out. He cares if you make your payments. So who is it that's saying, hey, how are you traveling? You said you're going to renew your insurances this month and you haven't done it. How come? It's a 1-hour job. You've had 168 times 4, sister. Do it. So I love that accountability piece. So that would be some comments about networking. What else have we got here? I love the bricks. And you know what? Sometimes one thing I didn't say is, does a crooked brick matter? Who has got OCD in the room? Yep, Rob. Sometimes a crooked brick does not need straightening. In the scheme of things, is it going to ruin the path? There you go. And so sometimes it's progress over perfection. And so I love the brick analogy because we can talk about, like, I find other bricklayers. Oh, no, Stacey Storia, I should have taught you better. Some bricks need to be perfect, okay? There are elements of our life where perfection prevails. And yes, we were going to put all of our good resources and energy. There are some that are not, okay? I challenge the OCD players in the room to lay a crooked brick every now and again and focus on progress over perfection. Off the list is better. The other thing I love is sometimes I wonder if the energy that it requires us to do the top 20% of a task, people don't notice. There you go, Rob. You know how you labour on stuff for the last 20% and it takes another hour, do that final edit. If you didn't do the final edit, they wouldn't have noticed. And if I'm going to put a challenge out, if the next time you have a task that isn't die in a ditch if it's not perfect, send it off and see if you get any feedback. And the chances are you won't, because guess what? It'll be good enough. So what elements of your life is good enough? There you go. Yes, look. I think I could employ you too. I love a good perfectionist in my team because I'm not one. But I also do know where I need to put energy and need to make things perfect. And I did have a lady once, please don't be this person tonight, team, that I ran a 3-hour workshop. I had people say, wow, that's game-changing stuff. And she said at the end, there was a spelling mistake in that presentation. I said I wasn't here teaching spelling. I didn't. I thought that. I didn't say it. But you know what? Yes, you would notice Stacey Story. It wasn't even you that said that after you sat through 6 days of me. But you know what I mean? Like, be really careful. Does it matter? And look, it does matter. I try to be a professional team. Hey, you know what I do want to say at this point? When I was invited to do this webinar, I really value the work that the Royal Flying Doctors do and that Sisters of the North do. So I said to Tracy, don't send me a check, split it in half and send it to those 2 charities. There you go. I feel really privileged that however many people have signed in to talk to me. Yeah, because at the end of the day, if everyone can take a little something home to find the time, don't worry about managing time, manage yourself to do those 2 hours worth of stuff. Is everyone up for that challenge? Is everyone up for the challenge to do the thing that you said you were going to do if I gave you 2 hours? Because I promise you, if you do 2 of the things on the list that you're going to get in the link tomorrow, you'll find that 2 hours. There you go. I don't think we can do much more than that. If you do the things on the list, there's 30. Don't suck 30 team. Oh, God. No, but can we dribble them out, Tracy? Can we give 2 a week? We talk about habit stacking in our programs. Don't do them all. Find something that resonated with you. Find one thing that resonated with you and you'll find yourself 2 hours. There you go.
Okay. All right. We'll drip feed them.
Okay.
Tim, I just want to ask quickly, Tim, what did you think about that after you talked about sleep and connections and...
Yeah, that was a fantastic presentation. I mean, they all do sort of flow together, don't they, really? I mean, you know, if you look at managing your time, it's so essential to your overall well-being. I mean, how these things go together, they just do mesh, really. And I think it was really great the way that you broke the week down and talked about the number of hours in a week. I think it's a great way of looking at it in terms of planning your time, which was absolutely fantastic. It was a great presentation, Beck. Really appreciate your time tonight.
Thank you. I find it, I'm not going to keep talking. 168. Why don't we focus on that number? Had anyone heard of that number? I'm surprised how few people have heard of that number. And it is such a critical, who doesn't deal with weeks? What's on this week? Our life rolls in weeks and we do not focus on the availability of that number. Anyway, I love it. And if you ever ask me if I could do something for you and I say I don't have time, read between the lines, team. You don't make my list of priorities because I've got plenty of time. I've got 160 hours of the suckers a week and you ain't having one of them, okay? It's the way we've got to look at it, because if someone says to you I don't have time, it's because, anyway, there you go. Maybe we should close on that. I'm happy to keep talking.
Thanks so much, Beck. We really appreciate it. And it was just great presentation and fantastic delivery. And I really think you did pull together a lot of the things we've been talking about in the last few weeks and gave us some really great hacks to improve the day, the week, the month, the year, and everything else. Thank you to everyone who's online. Thanks for joining us. Thanks for contributing. And I just want to let you know what's on next week. We've got Lisa Duncan. Are you there? You want to give us a wave? Lisa's joining us next week to wrap up the series. And what we're going to focus on next week is how to make the best out of a crisis. So what can you, in tough times, how do we think, what can we do? And I just can't see you there in the big, long list of people. Anyway, I'm sure she's there somewhere.
Oh, yeah,
where are you? There you are. I see you now. All right. So Lisa's coming along next week and she's going to take us through making the most of a crisis. So I hope you can all join us for that. And thank you for being here tonight, everyone. It really makes us worthwhile, and to everyone sharing everything that they do and sharing their stories and sharing our challenges. Thank you very much.
The critical thing for rural women is to make sure that they're looking after themselves. As the expression, to make sure you've put on your own oxygen mask before you help other people. Being agile, not fragile, really means that you've got that, I guess, a suppleness and an ability to sway in the wind and not be blown over. I think it's important that we actually learn skills and techniques for managing the feelings that can sometimes be quite overwhelming, particularly when you're going through change and crisis.
In crisis, there is opportunity. I mean, the classic example of that, I think there was more millionaires made in the Great Depression than any other period in history. Having something to strive towards and having that sense that you're moving forward with your life is very, very important for your well-being.
This webinar series is an opportunity to get some new tools, but also to look at, are you maintaining the tools you've already got? How do you be in a position where you can take advantage of what the opportunities are coming out of a crisis?
Not only giving people great information about well-being, but also giving them some great information about how to improve themselves professionally. People have shown remarkable agility to deal with extraordinary demands, but it's also important that while people are doing that and running on full revs, that they are looking after themselves at the same time so they can maintain that resilience over time.
I think one of the important things about this webinar series is that the people involved understand rural Queensland, they understand rural people. You can have privacy, you don't need to identify yourself when you're asking a question. There's lots of opportunities, but you need to look after yourself so that you can actually take advantage of those opportunities and be in a position to look after the people around you and make sure they're ready for them too.